Hey, this is the Rhino for Survival Skills 101, and I'm going to teach you how to hold a handgun, homie. Before we get started, I'm going to go over the 4 firearm safety rules that you need to know. Rule number 1, treat every firearm as if it's loaded. Rule number 2, never point your firearm at anything you're not willing to destroy at that millisecond. Rule number 3, keep your finger off the trigger until pointed in and on target. And rule number 4, know your target and what's behind it. While homie style is very nice for the movies, it's probably not the most effective way to shoot in a combat situation. You know, the best way to shoot is have 2 hands on the weapon, and that's what I'm going to talk about right now. Now, I'm going to use my Glock 19 Compact. It's kind of small for my hands, but I think we can make this work. I want you to know that it's unloaded. So, let's talk about grip. I see people grip a lot of different ways, and the reason that we want to have a good sturdy grip is to handle muzzle control, that muzzle flip. You know, the first shot, it doesn't really matter how we're holding the gun, but the follow-up shots, the second and the third one, getting that front sight back on target is really important, and the way we control that is through proper grip. And I've seen people grip all kinds of ways. I've seen them hold it a teacup way. They're holding their wrist here, they're holding their wrist there. I've seen them up on the trigger guard holding. I've seen people go high up on the frame here. Heck, I've even seen people hold up on the slide, which really hurts and it's not very effective, and I would stay away from that if I were you. So first thing we're going to do is I have a good solid one-handed grip with my gun hand here, and I want my finger to go along the slide just like this, all right? Now that's pretty good. I want to have a nice solid grip, but I don't want to have a death grip. We don't want that front sight to go off target, and the more that we squeeze like this, the more it's going to go off target, and we don't want that. Now for my second hand, there's a nice space right here. I'm going to show you 2 different ways to hold the weapon depending on the stance that you're using. There's 2 different kinds of stance that are pretty popular, the Isosceles and the Weaver stance, and it really depends on holding your thumbs. But just for a general way to hold the weapon, what we want to do with our second hand is we want to put our palm right here in this space. You know, God made this space right here for your second hand. And we put our palm right here, and what's going to happen is that other hand is going to marry around our firing hand, and it's going to be even with our fingers. One thing you need to do is stay away from taking your index finger of your support side hand and putting it on your trigger guard. Again, that's going to make that front sight wiggle, and wherever that front sight is, that's where the bullet's going to go. So we don't want to impact that at all. So have your support side hand marry nicely with your other fingers. Now, we're going to talk about thumb placement. Depending on what stance you choose is typically going to dictate how you're going to stack your thumb on the weapon. There are 2 kinds of stances again, the Isosceles stance and the Weaver stance. Those are generally the 2 most accepted stances that you have. Just going over the Isosceles stance, when we're pointed out and our hand is straight out, we're going to take our other hand and we're going to slightly point our thumb right at the target. So that's how we're going to transition around the weapon here, and our thumbs are going to be stacked on each other and they're going to be pointed straight at the target. So I have this kind of break that I'm doing with my hand for an Isosceles stance. So it looks something like this right over the top. For a Weaver stance, you'll see people are slightly bladed off and their elbow will be bent. Now it's a little hard to do that break when you've got this bent arm like this. And I'm not going to go into the details of what stance is better. I'm just saying it's going to be a little different depending on the stance that you have. So we marry our fingers together and our elbow points straight down, so therefore our thumbs will look something like this, stacked on top of each other like this, as opposed to stacked like this. You can also cross them over the top. Now, if you had a 1911, you would find that the safety is high up on the frame. And you're going to want to stage your thumbs up on that safety. The reason is when we point in, we want to be able to take the safety off and be able to shoot the gun. And then when we're done shooting the gun, we want to be able to click that safety back on. So you would ride your thumbs high up there if you had a 1911. One thing you don't want to do is you don't want to ride your thumbs on your slide lock right here. The problem with that is when you run out of ammo, typically your gun will lock back just like that, and that'll tell you that you're out of ammo so that you can do an emergency reload. The problem is when you're riding on the slide right here, or the slide lock, when the slide goes back and it's empty, it won't lock back in the proper configuration, and then you're not going to know that you're empty, and you're going to take one more shot, and what that does is slow you down. So try to keep the pressure off of that slide lock with your thumbs. So again, you could be pointed straight at it, you could be crossing up and off, or you could be riding the safety if you had that 1911, but try to stay off of that slide lock. Okay, there you go. That's how you grip a gun. For Survival Skills 101, I'm the Rhino. Are you prepared to look forward?